Ancient Heart here. These relationships, you know, for people who are with somebody with borderline personality untreated, or have been, or now you're the ex, or you were ghosted, or however the relationship ended. Do you have FOMO? How much is FOMO playing into why you're ruminating? Main reason why you're ruminating, why you can't let go, how impossible everything feels, you can't move forward, you want them back, maybe you're an on-off again, relationship breakup cycles. FOMO, fear of missing out. So many people with codependency ruminating about a BPDX, or ruminating about somebody with BP that ghosted you and you're not sure if they're an ex or not. Are they going to hoover you, or are you thinking of hoovering them? Or have you tried to hoover them? Some people decide they just want to try again. Will the person with BPD want to try again? Is that healthy for you? What's likely to happen? So FOMO, fear of missing out. And how else does this play out in people's lives after these most painful relationships, the breakups, the ghosting, the on again, the off again? Fear of missing out has a lot to do with the false belief, actually, that you might well think this person with borderline personality that you were in a relationship with, and some people have been in long-term marriages with people with BPD, some people just dating, some people in a relationship. The FOMO of it all, what is that? Fear of missing out. Well, if they ghost you, if the relationship ruptures, if just there's a breakup, you don't know if it's over on off, the fear of missing out goes to what's at the heart of so much of the difficulty for people after these relationships, and often with codependency, because the fear of missing out speaks to the no closure, but it also speaks to the cognitive dissonance. It also speaks to a fear of missing out on whatever you missed out on in childhood that you might not be consciously aware of, that you have even a greater fear of missing out on now, or something that you didn't get but you need and you want so badly. The fear of missing out. But the fear of missing out comes in especially at the point at which you've been ghosted, or it's on off again, or there's a breakup, and you just have this false belief, really. It's a negative core belief that might come from your childhood woundedness as well, of FOMO, fear of missing out, because the fear is, and it's not logical or rational, people with BP can move on very quickly, right, to the next person, or have already been, disloyal to you, to put it mildly, with someone, and then they ghost you, or the breakup happens, and then there was somebody else. And so the fear of missing out is really this fear that is unfounded and not logical, but you're hurting that they're going to go on and the grass is going to be greener on the other side, right? That the next person is going to get this really good person that, in idealization and mirroring and BPD codependent people pleasing in the beginning, where they were seeking to merge with you, to seek identity through you unconsciously. They're not aware of this. And this was just the greatest experience of your life, because for people with codependency, there's that, when you're idealized, it feels incredible, right? I mean, everything that goes with it, but it feels incredible. You feel seen, maybe for the first time in your life. You feel heard, because the person with BPD is so focused on you in the idealization phase. And other things wonderful happen too. But then the fear of missing out is attached to so many things. But it's, again, going back to how people may be consciously aware of what they're thinking or not after being ghosted, relationship breakup, on, off, you want it to work out, you're still in that space of, like, you just believe people with codependency are externalizing out their approval needs, their self-worth, their self-esteem. You want to be understood, you want to be heard, you want to be seen, you want all of that person with BPD's accusations against you and all that false stuff they said that you did that you didn't do. You want them to know that. You want them to hear you. There's no closure. So FOMO, really, fear of missing out, really comes into the picture when you know they've gone on to that next man or woman. And you're like, what happened here? And it's a world of hurt on multiple levels, right? Codependency, person with BPD, the relationship that just maybe ended or it's on off again. And the fear of missing out really goes to the heart of you believing, for no logical reason, that somehow, but it's emotional, that somehow this person is going to get that good person, that wonderful person, that who they were in the beginning person, who really doesn't exist. But you might not yet have worked that through. It takes a healing and recovery journey, like I said. And if you resonate with me, I'm out here to help you with this. I've been working with clients and helping them heal and recover from their codependency and cluster B relationships for 30 years now. So here's the thing about this FOMO, right? This fear of missing out, is that it can be so ingrained in people with codependency from childhood. There's an intersecting of something there, but you still want to get back to who you thought this person that you fell in love with or that you were dating, who this person was, because they seemed just so fantastic, which is the borderline siren song of way too good to be true. But the fear of missing out now, it haunts people after the breakup or the on off, or are they going to hoover me, or is it over? Or there was somebody else, even if you don't have all the answers to those questions, no closure, not understanding what happened, because many people are new to this too, right? You're like, what the heck is going on with this person? What did I do? And the truth is, you didn't do anything. And there was nothing you could do to change their misperceptions. And they're relating to you as a parent figure and not for who you really were. So in the beginning, it's so great. And then I know I've said this in other ways before, but the fear of missing out goes to the reality that people with codependency who stay in there for longer and longer or want to go back and try again, it's really because you still somewhere inside have this, I mean in the kindest terms, illusion of a suspended belief of unreality that the person that they first were, the person with BPD first presented as, that you can somehow get back there with them, that maybe that's who they really are. It's not, though. So this fear of missing out is very painful for people because it's just another moving piece of the no closure, the want to be heard and understood, and for the person with BPD to know that you didn't do everything to them that they said that you did. But please know there was nothing you could do to stop them from what they end up believing, because those are their repetition compulsion cycles from their childhood. But in the fear of missing out, you believe, people really with codependency believe that this person is going to go on and be the person that you first met, and always, and for someone else. They're going to get all the good. It doesn't work that way. People with BPD untreated, or unless a lot of treatment, of course, if they're recovered, they won't be in this kind of relational dynamic. But untreated, they will just go on to the next and the next and the next, or maybe some have longer relationships. But it's not because they're healthier. It's not because they're being that amazing person that you fell in love with or who you thought they were. Because who you thought they were, that you now have this big FOMO, fear of missing out about, really wasn't true. And that's really hard for people to wrap their heads around, that person was but a fragment of who the person with borderline personality could become in a full process of treatment and healing and recovery journey. So this fear of missing out is huge. It drives rumination. It drives people into the comparative narrative. Like, I've had so many clients say to me, but now he or she is with somebody else and I'm sitting here all by myself and I feel like a quote loser and I'm quote an idiot. This is what people say, being unkind to themselves. And so you must remember or become more aware, will help you to realize that in codependency, not only do you want that person back, but they weren't really real in the first place. That was but a fragment of who this person maybe could be after a lot of years of treatment that they have to want to go get. So, there are remnants. And when clients describe to me sometimes, and not everybody with BPD is the same, and not everybody with BPD is at ground zero of untreated either. So a lot of differences. But for most people watching my channel, for most people seeking information, understanding, who are in a terrific amount of, like a horrible amount of pain, you're with the people with BPD. That, each one of you that are untreated, that are in this category of people with BPD, that isn't all of them by any means, but really important to know that when you've experienced positive from them, which people hang on, it's a cognitive dissonance, right? You want to forget what was horrible and remember what was good, and you want that good back. But even any intermittent, wonderful experience with the person with BPD who might be your ex right now, or you don't know, on off, the thing is, that's but a remnant. Every time you experience something positive with them, it's but a remnant of who they could be. Because they have a lost self. They don't have a self inside, no self-coherence, no self-cohesion to relate to other from. And so everything is going to be fleeting. And after devaluation, after the split to devaluation, which doesn't happen because they feel your love, even though you're trying hard to love them, it doesn't happen because of anything that you do or that you didn't do. But when that happens, rarely do people with BPD ever go back to idealization, let alone the initial idealization. And so what you have the fear of missing out on is really only what you're still in a codependent way, in disbelief that this person isn't really who you thought they were, and that you want to get that person back. Not the person who hurt you, not the person who's been disloyal, not the person that just maybe ghosted you, or it's on off and you don't know what's going on. But fear of missing out has all to do with the cognitive dissonance, the one half of who you thought this person was. It's not who they are. Because if it was truly who they were, then they wouldn't be splitting to devaluation and all of the chaos and drama that goes with these relationships. So people with codependency, fear of missing out, the FOMO, is driven by the unrealistic belief, but the strong desire and false hope that you can get that person that you thought they were back, and that you could finally be heard and seen and understood, because codependents are externalizing out all those needs and then some from childhood as well. So it's something that actually is triggering people with codependency into a state where they are so anxious. And often people will be really checking out the social media, that reverse stealth Hoover, anxiously waiting to see if there's a text. Will he or she text me ever again? Is it gonna? And often these relationships, for many with BPD untreated, the next person doesn't work out either. And then the devaluation split happens, and they don't always ghost or leave at that point. But then the relationship is going down on a downward spiral, and then they'll find somebody else because they can't help but continue to ascribe to the person closest to them all that they're feeling, all that triggers them, which is inside of them, all that's happening to them that they're re-experiencing dissociatively in the here and now with emotional dysregulation, triggers, and sometimes age regression, but not always age regression as well. So with all of that going on, they have to externalize all that, because that's what was done in childhood to protect themselves from feeling like they were just going to evaporate and not exist, because they lost itself. And in a sense, they're not really sure about their own existence unless they're seeking identity through someone else. So People with BPD have repetition compulsion, deep-seated issues from the adverse childhood experience that they're unaware of. So they're going to continue to externalize out whatever they feel onto the person closest. And they often, in a split to devaluation, if they're going to ghost or break up with you, then it's not always the way it goes, but they're going to dump it all at you. And the accusations are going to fly at you. And when these accusations are flying at you, it's really them talking to the wounding parent, but you're there and it hurts you. It tears people apart. Those people take it personally, of course, because you're there and you're still hoping that this person will be who you thought they were. That's but a remnant of that person with BPD, and I'll have more coming on that and what that really means. And the thing is, so FOMO, the fear of missing out, is something that you really have to consider how that's driving your ruminating and what that means for you. And you're in a comparative narrative with FOMO, fear of missing out, because what you're fearing is no more logical or real. That is to say, them going on and having a fantastic, healthy relationship and being that person who you thought they were initially. That's not going to happen any more than they're going to come back to being that person that you thought they were. That obviously people with codependency, people in general, but people with codependency especially, are wanting that person back. Why? Because that was for you amazing, a lot of amazing experience, but approval. And you got a sense of self-esteem and self-worth from the idealization initially from the person with BPD, and how wonderful you really thought everything was and they were. And then it all sort of just fell apart in the ways that it does. And what's important to remember about that is you didn't have anything to do with that. So a lot of people with codependency are triggered by the very fact of the way things fall apart for the person with BPD, and how they get to devaluation splits, etc., which aren't just one-time things. They happen probably in a series until the ghosting or the breakup, where you can't take it anymore, but you're in this cognitive dissonance of betwixt and between, ruminating, and the fear of missing out, the comparative narrative. Well, now they're on with somebody else, but they never were who you thought they were. And there's compelling reasons for people with codependency why this is so incredibly painful, and you can't stop ruminating about it. So if I resonate with you, I'm out here to work with you, to help you, to explain more about that, to answer. And when I work with clients, I answer all the questions you can imagine in the world about people with BPD, and accurately. And I have a lot of clients who say my record of prediction as to contact, no contact from them, Hoovers or not Hoovers, all of those kinds of things, I'm usually way more on the target than not. But the other thing is, I just want to remind people, if you're really everybody's in a world of hurt after this happens to them for a time or for quite a while until they work through what is a substantial healing and recovery process from codependency, and that takes a longer time, and the relationship with the cluster B or the person with BPD. But I just want to remind you that I'm out here if you're trying to reach out, if you're trying to work out how to Hoover or get Hoovered. I've had clients contacting me recently, people that, I maybe worked with before, people that are coming newly to me to work with me that are actually saying, I need her back. I want him or her back. Could you please help me strategize? And you know what? I'll help anybody with anything you want help with, because some people have to take that route to really figure it out for themselves. It's the harder route to take. It's probably not going to work out, like very high percentage chance, like in the high 95% range. It's not going to work out. But people have to do what people have to do, and people, more importantly, do what people want to do, and people make the choices that they need to make. So I'm not encouraging anyone to specifically think about that if you're not already, but if you are, and you'd like some help and support, and you'd like to start working on the codependency, and you'd like to strategize about getting the ex back, or the on-off again, ghosted, whatever, If that's where you're at, I'm here to help you with that. I don't tell people what to do. I don't feel like I'm, your mother and I need to like protect you. No, I will help you with any aspect of this that you want help with, because I understand that people need to find their own way through these things. I do not recommend people going back to do that, but sometimes that's what some people have to do. And that's the choices that they will make. And that's people's choice. So FOMO, fear of missing out, goes back to the codependent reality that you still, somewhere inside, to some degree or another, feel or believe, or just hope or wish so badly that that person that idealized you is really who they are, and that you can get that person back, that you can get that approval, self-esteem, self-worth, all that back. And the fear of missing out is really believing, mad world it is, isn't it? Fear of missing out is really believing that the next person's going to get all the good. Not true. The same thing is going to happen. The same patterns are going to repeat. So I hope this was helpful for someone out there. Take care.